Welcome back to the show. Today I'm catching up with somebody who's constantly on the move and absolutely killing it in the ad tech world. Fern Potter, the SVP of Strategy and Partnerships at Multilocal. Our history goes back a bit. Fern actually hired me for a role in 2019, and funnily enough, her career took a major turn after she met her next boss at one of my dinner parties, the TNDP, the Next Dinner Party. Since then, she's still been a force of nature across all events where she's been across the globe. And today she's here to talk about the future of curation and why supply-side decisioning is the next best thing, and why, even in the world of AI, human connection is still the best strategy we have. Let's jump in. Fern, lovely to catch up with you.
Hi, James. Great to see you.
Now, I'm going to jump straight in, if I may. So the first question I've got for you is the signal and the noise. What's something that you found interesting in the news of late that looks like a signal for the future?
It's a really great question, actually. And I was at IB, ALM, not this year, actually, last year. And there was a woman called Deborah Kant, and she works for JP Morgan, and she's a futurist. And she's all about finding the signals within population, within media, that create provocation and early indicators of something bigger to come. So I love this question because I was so fascinated with her talk, and definitely recommend checking her out. She's written a book recently. But strangely enough, I was with my nieces. It's half term. They're 16 and 18. And fascinating, you get a fascinating window into like the future of media consumption and consumerism when it comes to teenagers. I think that age is really interesting because they've got shopping habits. As I well know, as you probably know as well, right? Expensive days out. We're talking a lot about social media and how they perceive advertising. And I think that's always, as I said, that fascinating age where you're intersecting with the fact that they've got opportunity to then go and purchase. And my nieces were talking to me about the fact that on Instagram, them and all their friends are using, I'm going to try and get this right so I don't sound like a right old woman, but stories. Yeah, I don't know how to use it anymore. I was like, bloody hell, bring back MySpace or something. But they're using stories, they're using reels. It's all very much video content. Not many of their friends and that kind of their circle of influence is around static imagery anymore. And so I was asking them why. And she's saying, well, because of AI, the intersect into like overproduced content when it's static is more questionable than video, because videos of their friends and their experiences is real-time storytelling. You know, it's a better opportunity for them to see like genuine experiences about what they're up to and what their activities are. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting thought, that if that continues based on what we're seeing in the market around AI disrupting creativity, that little nugget of information is how the future generations are thinking about storytelling, genuine content, what creativity means to them is really important to how brands then advertise in the future. So that was my little signal in the noise. Not so much, I mean, I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, I have to say. It's quite an addiction, but actually stepping outside and speaking to people is really interesting. So yeah, that did get me thinking about what that kind of future state of advertising will be, and if there's actually they're really astute into recognizing what is AI and what isn't. I didn't know whether that might be a confusing. Some of it's so realistic, but there's a lot of slop, I guess, as well.
There's a lot of slop, and yeah, it reminds me some of the tracks on Spotify and the whole idea of having fake, not real bands, and then I've helped my 8-year-old son launch his pop career on Spotify. So he's got a few songs on there. The first one was Poop Land Adventure.
Classic. I'm sure it'll be coming to a remix soon. But that again is interesting. My elderly, she loves vinyl. Or back to vinyl, collects vinyl, the artwork, the tangible experience of having a vinyl and collecting them. And then I guess to your point, like she knows the artists, she knows the artist's real. I guess.
Yeah, I think, well, the other version of the word real that you were talking about with AI and kids recognizing what is and what isn't. Will we be able to in a few years' time? And that's a different question. But I think when it comes for advertising, where we're at the moment is trying to work out how we get people's attention. And it's around a lot of the work that I think that your business is doing of trying to make sure that there is the right attention that's captured, which brings me nicely to the next question. What are you up to? What are you up to in business at the moment, and how are you connecting the dots?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm a Multilocal. We are curation specialists, and we've built an intelligence engine that bridges together the audience experience with that an advertiser wants with the media brand and the audience experience that the media brand wants on the page or within the broadcast. And what curation is doing is making programmatic less expensive, it's making it more efficient, and it's driving better outcomes by bridging those audiences together. I think predominantly, if you look back, and I've been in programmatic, most of my media career, we kind of defaulted to this open web because it was easier, but it's not necessarily driven the expectations of audience experiences and outcomes that we wanted. That's for publishers and for advertisers. It's become quite a commoditized binary way of advertising. And what curation is lending itself to is that streamlining the audience experience, creating a way of finding audiences and discovering them in a really meaningful way outside of the complexities of the technology that's developed around programmatic. So we bridge all of that together. We've got an intelligence engine that seamlessly finds audiences, builds and bridges deals, which doesn't sound like the sexy part, but deal ad ops is tricky and it's cumbersome. And so we spend a lot of time automating that for business. It's all about that speed to scale. And then optimizing on the supply side. So we'll have seen, definitely, if you're within the programmatic space, a lot of conversation around supply side decisioning. Getting the decisioning closer to the impression drives better outcomes for advertisers, gives advertisers a real safe marketplace, a single deal, a real safe space to advertise within. And by having supply side decisioning, filtering all of those audiences through into your DSP, you get a more kind of cleaner, streamlined experience. So we spend a lot of time building our technology, and the slight difference with the Multilocal business is we offer what's called curation as a service. So that managed service on the supply side that can plug and play into businesses and meet them where they're at. If you want to accelerate your programmatic curation offering, we can help you do that. So there's a lot of technology out there, but we like to try and ensure that we are driving capability as well as performance for business.
Is it a tough marketplace? And are you finding that there are other people in the market doing what you're doing, and you're having to explain how what you're doing isn't the same as them?
Yeah, do you know what? You're quite right. So we've been in it 6 years. And we were a first mover. We've built a category, and then over the last 2 years, the category started getting really noisy. Like, case in point, Xandr Curate was the first curation platform launched 6 years ago. We were on beta. We're now integrated into 20 different SSP Curate platforms. So it's noisy. There's a lot more competition, especially in the last 18 months, which is great because if it means we're in the right place. If there's no competition, we'd be worried, I guess. So it makes you better. It makes you understand exactly where that, we call it that blue ocean strategy. Where's the gap that we can then occupy to make sure that we are relevant to business? Now, there's a lot of changing needs in business. So I think it's really important, and comes back a bit to these signals, is listening to our customer. You can get really caught up, and I do, because I'm absolutely obsessed with ad tech. I make no apologies for that, but you have to make sure you're listening to your customer, the advertiser, the agency, on what their need state is. And as I said, meet them where they're at with our product. I think you can get really caught up in what your competitors are doing. And there's such a breadth in programmatic when it comes to ad tech as well. Like, you can kind of solve for lots of different things in different ways. So we want to make sure that we're really cutting through and navigating with advertisers and agencies what their needs are. So whether it's efficiencies, whether it's productivities, whether it's better outcome, whether it's something as simple as make my deals work because I want deals. I don't want to be in the open web, open exchange, and how take some of the pain away from that troubleshooting. We're able to kind of mold the tools and tech that we've built to meet that need. But yeah, definitely a lot more competition, a lot more noise, but that's also great because it creates intrigue, and we find that we're constantly having conversations. The competitor, not the competitor, our client set is quite varied because of this curation as a service piece. We offer curation to business that want to monetize their own first party asset on the supply side, all the way through to working with an advertiser that wants to in-house their programmatic, or working with agencies to help them find and discover, as I said, more efficiencies and outcomes through curation. So it's quite a breadth, never a dull moment.
What was the first? What was that? Give me an example of that first of the 3 examples you just gave me.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone with a data asset that might want to monetize on the supply side. So traditionally, if you say have got a first party data audience segment, you would have popped it on the shelf of the DSP and in hope that it is, merchandised correctly and discovered by a trader. What supply side decisioning is enabling is businesses with a data asset, so like a Start.io, a Permative, a Low2Me, etc., take that asset and integrate it into the supply side with media to be able to deliver and control the performance, the pricing, and the opportunity direct to the sellers. So it's making sure that tech is enabling audience discovery as opposed to disintermediating it through a supply chain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
For and if you've got an ad format, you might want to actually package all of that on the supply side, so you've got better decisioning, more control, looping back the buyer performance to the sell side, which is, we've always had a bit of an asymmetry as to what's performing and what's not, and that's what curation enables you to do, that kind of loop back within a deal ID.
I think that loop back is the important part, as being able to see what's working, what's not working, so that we can optimize. And that is what you and I have always been banging on about, is the importance of ad tech, is so that you can see what's working and how you can optimize, so that you can make your budgets go further and help your customers make their budgets go further.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's outcomes is more of a dominant conversation than ever, but having, there's a requirement to do that in a transparent way, because you must know what's performing. You need insights. You need to understand on both sides, for both publishers and for brands advertising. They need to know what works and what doesn't, and how to generate better experiences and yield to improve the quality of the open web, because then it gives advertisers a viable alternative to the walled gardens or the platforms, to be able to kind of fund this ecosystem that we've built. And it's vitally important to do that. I think, as I said, understand the insights, generate the performance, but do it in a really transparent way.
Love that summary, and I love the expression, a viable option to the walled gardens, because they're the ones taking the lion's share at the moment and not always delivering the best bang for your buck. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that as WPP. This is my own opinion here. Not,
yeah, exactly. No, what is it? A disclaimer. That's it. Do a disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to move on to the high five, if I may jump us onto that quick round of 5 questions, where I'm going to ask you a quick answer to each of them. The first one is your hero. Who do you admire for their ability to separate the signal from the noise?
Oh, it's a great question. I adore Brené Brown. I'm not sure if you're aware of her. She writes incredible books. And she's all about kind of vulnerability and empathy through leadership. But she did a book called Atlas of the Heart. Now, bear with me here, because it doesn't sound like something I'd read. You know me. It doesn't. But it's incredible. It's about language. It's about perception. It's about how people communicate with each other and how they describe that communication. And I think that, to me, is really interesting. Whenever there is, say, a person on stage, wherever there is, an announcement within a room, I like looking at the expressions and the conversations that other people are having about that announcement, because I think that's where you can actually pick up what the real world examples are. Like the LinkedIn comments section. Yeah, the article's great, but who's commenting? What are they saying? You know, what's their role? And that Brené Brown really brought that out in me as a skill set, because she really pays attention to language, and I found that fascinating. So definitely, she's a top hero of mine.
You know, that reminds me about your earlier comment of getting out into the real world and talking to real people when you're talking to your nieces, because that used to be a key part of what Adland was about. Now, every account planner worth their salt will talk about how you've got to get out more. It's not just about the desk research. It's about talking to the real people in the real world. And yet, in our world, in ad tech, we do live in a bubble where everyone hears their own conversations on this, you know, being echoed by other people on the stage and at the conferences and on LinkedIn. And I think it's vital to get out there and actually just hear different ways of doing things. All right, I'm going to look up both the women that you mentioned there. So what's your best decision to date?
Tricky. Hiring you, James. Of course. Can I say that?
You ran away to someone who never went to the dinners.
Look, obviously, I did. I had to line that up. No, to be honest, what's been my best decision? I mean, entering my first role at media agency, I started as at the Searchworks, which was, you know, an independent search business. When I started at media agency, everything came together about how like the whole advertising ecosystem worked. And it was the best decision I made. And I hope to this day, like that this still occurs. I met so many people. There was so much collaboration, so much shared experience, both positive and, you know, quite painful, as you can imagine, in being exposed to, you know, the whole ecosystem of advertising that existed within a combined media and creative agency. So one of my best decisions was entering a career within the holding companies at that time, because it was the exposure you got and the ability to pivot your role and get involved. Oh gosh, the pitching, you know, when you get in a war room and you've got people that you didn't know and everyone's in that, you know, that scenario of like, right, how do we build collective intelligence to create, you know, the solution for the advertiser? I think it was brilliant. And yeah, you know, as much as I love where I am now, more in the advertising technology business, like that was definitely, you know, I mean, this is 20 odd years ago, was the best decision in my career of joining that, because the people never leave you.
I love that, because I think of life as a series of stepping stones. Wherever you end up, that can't be your ultimate goal. Everything is a stepping stone as to where you're going next. And when you look back at the steps you've taken along the way, it's so fortuitous that if you'd taken that or that decision differently, you may not have ended up where you are today, which is why it's so exciting to see just the random paths that people have taken to get to where they are today. And yet, you know, hopefully they're flourishing and enjoying what they're doing and trying to work out what the next steps are going to be.
It's true. And like you just stay connected to people, you know, it's brilliant.
And that's one of the things that our industry is good at, is the connections that it provides with an interesting bunch of eclectic people. Your worst decision to date?
You look at not hiring you. No. What was it? Yeah, I did have a little think about this one, because I'm sure there's been a long line, but I'd like to block them out. Boundary setting, and by this I mean not only from a time, and we talk a lot about work-life balance, or, you know, just your life life-balance, but actually psychological boundaries when it comes to your work. And I've been reading about this a lot recently, as my role's more focused around growth and like the product as it stands now. And I don't think I ever got this throughout my career, but it's kind of clicking now, is to actually like separate ego from the business in which you are involved in. And by that, I mean, nothing's personal. You know, if something doesn't work, it's not just you. And I think you can really become quite insular. You know, your value is not placed upon a singular project, but you can internalize the success or failure of that singular, that individual project, and it can really shape who you are as an individual within your career. And I think I've definitely done that throughout my experience, throughout my career, but more cognizant of it, and maybe just getting a bit older as well, is really understanding that, you know, it's not either way. The successes and the failures aren't internalized to just be you. You're working as a business. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Separating the ego from the business that you're working through, but still creating, you know, good work and successful work.
How do you balance that going forwards then?
Well, I don't know. Trickily. I think I'm sure there's a method. I'm sure I'll read a book on it. You know, let's be serious about this. I think it's boundary setting. It's giving yourself time and space. It's being prepared, having a plan and getting collaboration and alignment across all of that plan. So everything you win and all the wins and all the losses are a collective. And then kind of teaching yourself good grace to separate the two.
They say
Stay tuned. I'll let you know.
Though I think having the plan is an important one, because if you don't know where you're going, all roads look just as good. And I think having an idea of this is where you want to be, and, you know, externalizing what it looks like to be there in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. The neuro-linguistic programming courses of 10 years ago used to explain how you need to imagine and externalize where that will be, and then how you get there and how you make the difference along the way. Food for thought there. Okay, next question is your funniest moment.
So many. This is so tricky. These are really hard questions. Like funniest moment, you know, I can't pinpoint one, because, as I said, throughout the teams that we've worked through throughout my career, it's fantastic collaboration of people. But I have to say, there's moments in your life where you really need that soul food from people, and you just need to hysterically laugh as hard as possible to kind of get you through whatever it is you're experiencing. And I'd say most recently, I had a wonderful experience at the Digital Leading Ladies Christmas lunch. And I think I laughed for about 4 hours, like my face hurt. And it was so enriching, so beautiful, so necessary. Like, selfishly, I really took from that. It was such a necessary time for me to just feel that extreme joy. And that comes from, as we just talked about, community, you know, knowing people for over 10 years, meeting new people, being able to be in an environment where you just, you can bring your genuine self, and you can be a bit silly, and you can, you know, you can laugh and joke. And I think, I know that's not a specific moment, but it was definitely really poignant in my mind when you asked this question. It was the first thing. I was like,
I love how you credit the Digital Leading Ladies group, because so many people have told me what a wonderful community it is, especially some of those who are part of the organization of it. But I'm very impressed with that group always being cited as a fabulous community, not just you know, another group that I feel I need to go to, or another event I feel like I'm missing out on.
It's special, really special.
Final question, bright spark. I'm going to ask you to recommend one more person for me to have a chat to hear about what they're up to at the moment.
All right. So I was thinking about who'd been in attendance at the dinners. So Zuzana Galinska, I think you must, because she is excellent, and she's just, I'm not going to do it the justice she deserves, but she's set up Panel Power with NDA. I just think it's such an incredible initiative to reflect and learn and get more, you know, kind of wealth and weight and beautiful people and intelligent people on panels. So I would say, and she's an incredible human, which helps.
Fantastic. Well, I will. She was telling me about Panel Powers at a dinner late last year, so I will use this as the excuse to say, hey, let's have a chat on a pod. Thank you, Fern, for everything that you brought to life today, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
See you soon. Thanks so much, James.
In the twilight, we gather around the table, stories to share, ideas unstable with signals bright. Through data we roam, creating sparks.